pleasant good evening, everyone, from Madison Square Garden here in New York. I'm Howard David, your host for the 41st National Invitational Basketball Tournament, featuring the Longhorns of Texas from the Southwest Conference, and from the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Wolfpack of North Carolina State. The one-liners of Abe Lemons, the head coach of Texas, are kind of historic already in New York. Meanwhile, Norm Sloan can become the 5th coach in NCAA history to win both an NCAA and NIT title in his career. I'll be hosting your show, handling the play-by-play. Here's Don Crickey.
Thank you very much, Howard. I'm joined tonight by Bucky Waters, former head coach at West Virginia and Duke. We have two teams with contrasting styles. Carolina State's a big running team from the Atlantic Coast Conference. Texas is a relatively small team, but a very elusive one. Bucky, lead off. Tell us about Carolina State.
North Carolina State is really an extension of their coach, Norman Sloan. They're intense. He has pushed this young team beyond their fondest expectations. They are deep, they are young, they are quick, they are strong, and they play the transition game extremely well.
Texas coach Abe Lemons has gotten a lot of press here in New York with his interesting quips. He says he doesn't get anything from scouting reports because he doesn't read them, but he does have a very well-coached basketball team.
Yes, they are very deceptive. They are small, but they shoot the ball extremely well, and they're so smart. They put on a clinic here the other night and beat a fine Rutgers team. I understand that Texas is the favorite. It's hard to believe when you look at the athletes. It's going to be right down to the wire, probably a 1 or 2 point game, Don.
I will be back with the starting lineups in just a moment.
Come on, and taste the Pepsi way. La, la, la. Come on, and have.
We are just about set to go in this championship game of the 41st National Invitation Tournament from the capital of basketball, Madison Square Garden in New York. The North Carolina State Wolfpack comes in with a record of 21-9, led by their coach Norm Sloan, who has over 400 victories to his credit, as does his counterpart Abe Lemons, the head coach of Texas, a school that is going into basketball in a big way now, matching up with the great football program the Longhorns have. This season, Texas has already won 25 basketball games. And here are their starting lineups coming out now. This is a big power forward from Los Angeles. His name is Ron Baxter, 6'4". Looks a little overweight, but he can get up in the air, and he's a very elusive player. He'll be matched up against Tiny Pinder of North Carolina State. He is a 6'8" junior from Miami, Florida. Now, from Placentia, California, comes Tyrone Brennan. He is the big elusive forward that scored 24 points the other night in a runaway victory over Rutgers. You gotta watch. Gary Goodner coming out now for the University of Texas. He is their center out of Denton, Texas. He'll be countered by Tom Sodop. Hawkeye Whitney also, you saw coming out briefly a moment ago. He is another outstanding frontline player for the Carolina Wolfpack. And now we look at the backline players. Texas gets a lot of shooting. This might be the best player on their team considering overall ability. John Moore, a backcourt player out of Altoona, Pennsylvania, 6'1". And here is the guy who threw in that miracle shot that carried North Carolina State over Georgetown, Clyde the Glide Austin from Richmond, Virginia. Here's the Texas Longhorns' best shooter from Southport, Indiana, Jim Krevax, averaging 21.5 points a game. And he's got a big guy across from him coming out for the Carolina Wolfpack, Tony Warren, a 6'6" backcourt player. We'll be back with the tip-off right after these messages from your local stations.
Head coach of North Carolina State, Norm Sloan.
There's a lot more to live.
The pivot man for the Texas Longhorns.
That guy could set a double pick right there. He's some kind of player.
Like getting around Wayne Embry.
You got to take your lunch.
There is Pinder at the free throw line for North Carolina State. He was a junior college player in Florida. 6'8", and he can move. So now we see that the Wolfpack under Norm Sloan is going to go right to the press, and a full court pass to Krevax gives the Texas Longhorns a second breakaway basket, and they take a 4-1 lead, 4-2 lead.
North Carolina State is going to try to push the tempo. They're going to try to press all game, and they've got to live with that. But again, we pointed out that Texas very deceptive. They don't look like they're going fast, but they are so smart.
Texas with that shifting zone. They played very well. They'll overmatch. They'll get up on the ball and pressure it. Here is Hawkeye Whitney, the big power forward, unable to control the offensive board, but Carolina State has it. And now there's a turnover off the hands of Pinder, and so the ball comes back inbound to the Longhorns. Let's see if North Carolina State comes out of that full court press, because Texas has been eating it up.
North Carolina State is going to live with it. They play 10 players every game. The 10 that played in the semifinals, 9 scored. So they feel their bench is deep enough to sustain the pressure, even if they get burned early.
They're getting set to put Don Perkins into the game now. Here is a shot up. Brannion is no good. The rebound kicked around, and working hard is Baxter. And it led Dorsey High School in Los Angeles to the LA City Championship a few years ago, and he just works harder and gets the points for Texas. They lead 6-2.
They list him at 205, but look at the big guy go.
That bucket will go. Ron Baxter doing a big job for Texas. Let's watch him again.
He admits to 225 despite the program listing only 205. North Carolina State careless with that ball. The great quickness of the big guy. I believe he can go faster than that. He was begging for the three-point attempt, and he got it.
He handled that beautifully as it was a continuation play. He was in the act of going in for the shot when he drew the foul, then took it right through, and good ball control. He lays it in. So Texas now has been getting the layups on North Carolina State with 18:32 to play. In the first half, we have an 8-2 game.
Ron Baxter with that three-point, with his third point of the game, just went over 1,000. The ceremony then was simply to give him the game ball.
A sophomore player. And so now, with Baxter hitting the free throw, we have a 9-2 game as Texas moves out in front. They are a tough club. They got the big lead on Rutgers, and Rutgers could never come back in the semifinal game. Now Pinder lunging into the lane, puts up the high arcing jump shot, and North Carolina State is down 9-4. Again, they go down court. This time, John Moore. Oh, these guys can play basketball.
What a start. Texas throwing that ball the length of the court. I know the Southwest Conference is football country. They can relate to that. That's what you call a fly pattern, and they're putting it right on the money. That time the pass was a little bit underthrown, but John Moore, who is perhaps the best athlete on the team, made an incredible play to take it in. And again, another shot at a three-point play, and he converts.
So 3 times now, the Texas Longhorns have gone to the full court pass against the press, and 3 times they've beaten the North Carolina State defense, and Texas has opened up a 12-4 lead with less than 2 minutes gone by in the first half. With the ball is Tony Warren, goes inside to Pinder, but he's doubled up. And now, good defensive play by Tyrone Brannion. Gets the ball over to Krivaks, and Texas comes down on the run. Home run ball. These guys are confident.
This is what you call blowing them out at the start. North Carolina State has to be patient. They know this is an explosive team, and they've got to rely on their bench and their depth to wear them down. Texas usually plays 6 guys at the most.
Ron Baxter drilling that long jump shot, and now he slaps the ball away from Sodop, the center for North Carolina State. And we're going to have a foul call on the play. Hank Nichols and Ed Gattara are our officials, and now Norm Sloan's going to his bench, getting some people in there. Matthews is coming in for the first time. Hawkeye Whitney coming back in the game. Jones coming in. Let's watch that again.
Clyde Austin making the penetration up in the air, just a little lob pass to Glenn Sudhop from behind. A good call. He nearly shoved that ball down on top of his head. Both of these are young teams, Don. Only Goodner of Texas is the only senior in the starting lineup for both teams, so the future bodes well.
They really are. North Carolina State wasn't expecting to have that much of a year, as you pointed out at the outset, but they came back with a big season, playoff season. Now, Carolina State continues to put the pressure on Texas, but Texas has had no problem breaking. They don't even use the dribble to break it. It's those long passes. We have 17:20 to play in the first half. And Texas has opened up a 14-5 lead. John Moore pulls up. Can't get it to go, but Brannion is under there, puts it up, gets it to go. No, the basket is disallowed. What do we have here?
Incredible. Texas cannot make a mistake.
We'll be back from Madison Square Garden in New York City. This is the 1978 NIT Basketball Championships.
Lifting all that weight makes me feel just great. Now's the time I find. Got blue ribbon on my mind. I've got Pabst Blue Ribbon on my mind. More and more lately I find I've got a taste for living. I'm thinking gold blue ribbon. I've got Pabst Blue Ribbon on my mind.
Naturally good Pabst. A lot to look forward to.
I've been in the business for years, and this is one of the biggest improvements I've seen in air filters. Regular models have one filter. This Fram has two. When an ordinary filter gets dirty, the Fram stays cleaner. In tests, it lasted 50% longer than our regular filter. That's why it's called the Fram Extra Life. Why not change your old filter for this Fram? It doesn't cost any more, but it can save a lot later.
Fram and Autolite are Bendix companies.
Zonk, if you want a date, get in shape.
Shape? I'm solid steel.
Chic shape, Zonk. Chic shape.
Get clean, get close, get comfort too. Get your face in chic shape.
Click in Chic Super 2, the only twin blades Teflon coated for incredibly comfortable close shaves.
Great shape, Zonk.
That's chic shape.
That's Super 2.
We are back at Madison Square Garden in New York. This is Don Criqui with Bucky Waters courtside as we're set to go now with the 17-13 showing on the first half clock. Tyrone Branyan gets the ball out to the big guy, Ron Baxter. Texas is in the lead 14-5. They have really outsmarted North Carolina State so far, and Carolina State's coach Norm Sloan has gone to a new lineup almost. Craig Davis is in the game. Watts is in the game. Art Jones is in, and Kenny Matthews is in. None of them starters. Here is the ball to Matthews now, and little Craig Davis, who perhaps can get the running game going for North Carolina State, gets it over to the big power forward, Hawkeye Whitney. Here is Matthews moving into the lane, but the Texas defense shuts it down. And again, North Carolina State misplays the ball, and Texas so far, Bucky, is controlling the basketball game at both ends.
Just as they did in the semifinals Sunday night. Tom Young, the Rutgers coach, couldn't believe it. His team shot 58% in the first half, and they were down 6 at the half. And it's just that kind of start that we're seeing tonight by the Longhorns.
Here is Krivax, who is a long-range shooter but can't get that to go. Branyan working hard off the offensive board. We have a whistle underneath. It looks like Whitney might have been called for pushing. They're getting the big guy from DeMatha High School in Hyattsville, Maryland, Hawkeye Whitney, for pushing off. So Texas will inbound the ball with a 14-5 lead.
We had a foul very similar to that just before the recent timeout, and it was determined that that foul occurred before the shot.
Brent Boyd has come in the game now as Texas moves that ball around the perimeter very quickly. Moore didn't have enough on the shot. Rebound carrying off, and here comes Whitney at 6'5". Getting the ball up court to Kenny Matthews, pulling up from 15 feet, and Matthews gets it down. It's now 14-7 Texas.
Matthews, perhaps the best pure shooter on the North Carolina State team. Very tough in transition when he pulls up for the short jumper.
North Carolina State continuing to pressure the ball. This is a good ball handler who had just get rid of the ball, John Moore. And here is Krivax. He'll put it up from 35 feet out. Look at him fire. He shoots 5 hours a day in the summer. Jim Krivax from Southport, Indiana, drills another field goal for the Longhorns, and they're up 16-7.
He's a pure shooter, but he also had 7 assists against Rutgers. A fine basketball player.
Whitney tries to take it to the basket, can't get it through the zone, so he goes over it. Gets the field goal for North Carolina State.
There's the long pass again. The fly pattern and 2. Amazing.
4 field goals off the fly pattern, and 2 of those were subsequently fouled by free throws. Here's a foul call on John Moore. He's trying to set a pick, trying to block out. Art Jones ran into it, but they ruled it. Moore snuck in front of him.
That's one of those chicken fouls that I really don't like to see. North Carolina State has to change their press. Right now they're fronting the inbounds pass, which makes them vulnerable for the long pass. I expect them to see them put somebody back deep to protect.
Kenny Matthews gets the ball over to Hawkeye Whitney. Texas zone shifting in and out very quickly, playing the ball well as Craig Watts tries to get it down low. There's a hacking foul called on Texas.
With the matchup defense Texas employs, they make it very difficult to get the ball down inside. We're going to see just how intense they play the inside, because in this instance, North Carolina State makes the penetration underneath the collapse and the reach from behind. They just can't let that ball get inside to the big men. And they neutralized James Bailey, one of the top 5 centers in the country, Sunday night.
They try to go to the alley-oop play inside to the big guy, Watts. North Carolina State has some big people.
Yeah, and they're just going to keep running them at him. Texas is just amazing. You look at them physically, and there's no way. But they are so smart, and they just don't miss the open shot. Abe Lemons underwhelms you with his coaching and his one-liners.
Keith Stevens has come in the game for the Texas Longhorns. And now Krivax outworks the rest and gets the basketball. 18-9 is the score. Texas has Krivax. Guns another one down. And Texas opens up its biggest advantage of the game, an 11-point lead, 20-9. We have 14:30 to play in the first half.
Krivax, a transfer from Auburn. His range is outstanding, almost an area code.
Austin. Clyde Austin, who is a very elusive player. He'll take it out to the top of the key. If there's anything open, he'll drive very quickly, as fast as anybody on the floor. That makes it a 20-11 game, and here comes Texas against the Carolina State press. Ron Baxter setting it. Looks for the men to move inside as they open up the lane now. Texas setting up a back door, and Krivax with an open lane going one-on-one. Can't get the layup to go, and here comes North Carolina State. Clyde the Glide Austin tries to take it around the corner on Stevens, and we're going to have the ball inbounds to North Carolina State.
Actually, there's only 1 point difference in these two teams. One is averaging 82, 183. But right now, North Carolina State very much has a transition tempo going, and that's to their advantage.
Pinder back in the game now outside, and Clyde Austin will set it up. Here is Don Perkins trying to take it in. Goes to Tony Warren, a 6'6 backcourt player from Raleigh, North Carolina. Rebound coming in the side court, and Perkins hustles to the ball, and so North Carolina State with the offensive ball gets another inside shot, but that time looked like Pinder was looking for the shot. There's Norm Sloan, the head coach of North Carolina State, a man who's been a coach of the year in 3 different college conferences.
This year has given him a lot of satisfaction. With 10 new players, his team was picked to finish last in the Atlantic Coast Conference. He drove them to a 3rd place finish and the title game here in the NIT.
Rebound comes down to North Carolina State. John Moore matched up against Clyde Austin. Donnie Perkins comes outside. Branyan staying back in the zone. He wants to play the defensive board. Lets him have the outside shot. Moore looks up court. Lead pass to Krivax. Krivax with a little too much on it. You won't see him miss many of those, or Texas as a team for that matter.
I didn't think they were ever going to make a mistake, and I do believe that State got a piece of that layup.
Pinder with a good shot, coming down low and then sprinting out away from the defense right into the heart of the zone and turning around shooting over it. So it's now a 20-13 game. Another lead pass down court, and Ron Baxter slams it down.
Texas is putting a little screen down on the weak side, and they're picking off North Carolina State. And all they need is a 1-step lead. The thing that's amazing is their passing. They've got to put more pressure on the ball because the passer for Texas is really able to sit back and pick his spots.
Baxter has now scored 9. Here's a good defensive board by Branyan. Up court it goes to Krivax. He's going to take it. Again, he cannot get it to go. Look at Baxter work. Rejected on the play by Watts, but it goes right to the little backline player for Texas, Krivax, who guns off the glass.
Nothing but cotton. Little angle off the board from Indianapolis, Indiana, a pure Indiana jump shooter. Shades of Rick Mount.
Baxter has 9, and Krivax has 8, and Perkins gets his first points of the night for the Wolfpack. They work a good play inside against the Texas zone. That makes it a 24-15 game. We have 11:44 left to play in the first half here at Madison Square Garden. This is the 41st championship game of the National Invitation Tournament. Krivax comes outside to Baxter. Texas sets up all different patterns. They work plays, and they'll catch you with looking the other way. Baxter with the tip. Gets good position, too. He's a glider inside.
Call him chubby, call him fat, but he can play.
Clyde Austin moving very nicely, switching hands on the dribble, takes it right through Texas and lays the ball in. So it is now 24-17 game Texas. Basketball action will continue right after these words from your local stations.
You're looking at a couple of smart people who save regularly. Here's what's really smart about them. They're saving at the biggest bank in town. Their savings account is important in their financial relationship with their own personal banker. It helps them make the best deal whenever they need a loan. It helps give them access to experts in investments, trusts, and business services. It saves them time and money through automatic transfers from their checking account. In other words, they're making good use of the full services of a strong bank. These services are worth a lot of money, and no savings and loan, no credit union, no other Austin bank can deliver them as well as the 580 personal bankers in this building. Our point is this: you're better off at Austin National Bank.
Here is the Wolfpack leader, as North Carolina State right now has a problem. They've had one throughout the first half, have trailed by as many as 11 points to Texas. Right now, North Carolina State is down by 7, 11-16 to play in the first half. Texas inbounds the ball against the pressure defense full court of North Carolina State, and here is Krivak, 6'1" junior, who's already pumped down 8 points. A very confident shooter. He'll come and barely look at the basket, just fired up off the run, a jumper. Outside to John Moore. This guy can handle the ball, Moore.
Very definitely, and so can Krivak. I think the tendency is to underestimate his ability to put it on the floor, go to the basket, and pass. Again, he had 7 assists against a good Rutgers defense.
Baxter gets inside for the shot, but can't get it to go. And now North Carolina State comes back down. If they can hit it here, they'll be back to within 5. Pinder takes it baseline. Not quite enough on the ball, but there's going to be a whistle and a foul call on Stevens of Texas that'll send Tiny Pinder to the free throw line for North Carolina State.
The Texas defense, again, is a matchup, but North Carolina State is able to penetrate. Now they're getting down inside. Little soft pass, Tiny Pinder taking the ball in traffic. Yes, a good call, a foul. They're getting down in the color, which is where they want to go. Texas frequently will back off and make you prove the perimeter shot before they come out and play you honestly. And I think if North Carolina State can ever get a lead with some limited time left, they're going to attempt to pull them out of that defense. Abe Lemon says he'll live and die with it. But if State has the ball and in control, they're going to want to look at man for man from Texas.
Tiny Pinder has trouble at the free throw line, and here comes Moore pulling up. He is blocked from behind by Art Jones of North Carolina State. And now the Wolfpack starts to run again. This guy can go with the ball. Austin inside. North Carolina State gets it to Perkins, fight for the rebound, and let's see, that's Warren coming down with it. Tony Warren, the 6'6" guard, coming from off the play.
Again, the long pass. Warren was counting his field goal, and when he looked around, Johnny Moore was long gone. But for the first time tonight, the pass was overthrown.
It's quite apparent that Texas came in here with a game plan. If they got pressed, to send that wide receiver on the fly.
They're sure not afraid of the press. Some teams, when they're pressed, just attack it to get it over half court and set up their offense. Texas attacks it to the basket.
I'll tell you one thing, Texas is one of the most interesting teams you see.
Very definitely, but I think this pace is a little bit faster than they want to go. At the 10-minute mark, they have 24 points, and that's much too fast with their limited bench.
Austin takes a look outside the Texas zone, dancing around it now as North Carolina State is deploying people to either side of the lane. That is Tony Warren trying to jump. The little guard gets it without having to leave his feet. He's going to take it the distance. Hands off to John Moore, who lays it in off the glass. And now the Longhorns get the break to work after the last one misfired, and they're up by 7.
Good feed on the layup. They're always under control. They don't have great speed, but they're under control, particularly at the end of the break.
Art Jones back outside to Austin as the Texas zone was sagging, but Austin's shot was too far. Here comes Texas again. John Moore, lead to Baxter, loose the handle. It was last touched by Austin of North Carolina State, so Texas holds on to the basketball. We have a 26-19 score on the board. Texas in the lead from Madison Square Garden, New York. This is the 1978 NIT Basketball Championship Final.
It should start every morning, be comfortable, be economical. That's a smart buy.
You asked for it. The 78 Toyota Corolla two-door sedan. The smart money's on this Toyota. Sensational gas mileage that you wouldn't expect in anything so comfortable and smartly engineered. With a fully transistorized ignition for dependability. If you can find a better-built small car than Toyota, buy it.
Here's a car as smart as me.
You asked for it, you got it, Toyota. Come on and taste the fancy way. Come on and have a fancy day. You're on the trail of something great. Today was made to celebrate. Come on and have a Pepsi day. Pepsi generation.
used to be when I had a job to do around the house, it was one-on-one. Me against the house. And since the house was much bigger, I usually lost. Well, I've just changed all that with my new Black & Decker Workmate. It'll hold just about anything I want to work on, from a door to a pipe to a 200-pound dresser. In fact, my Workmate is so good at helping me work, I'm giving it Sunday off.
Workmate models available from about $40.
Back at Madison Square Garden in New York, we have 9:21 left to go in the first half of this 41st NIT Championship game. With Bucky Waters and Howard David, this is Don Criqui at courtside at the Garden as the Texas Longhorns with a 26-19 lead. Trying to get it to their big center, Gary Goodner, who'd not been in for some time.
A lot of great shooting going on here at the Garden, and at halftime we'll present on the Miss Lou Television Network the Pepsi Hot Shot competition. Be sure and stay tuned for that.
John Moore tries to go inside. A lot of defense with him, can't get by. And here is Krivax out against little Craig Davis, who's back in the game for North Carolina State. A lot of people coming in and out on both sides. Been a very high-pressure game, a lot of intensity, a lot of running. Down with the rebound is Greg Watts. Coming up the court is Davis. And John Moore very wisely sets the stationary position, which Greg Davis didn't see, and we have a charge.
It's not a great defensive principle because when you lose the ball in transition, the best thing to do is get back. John Moore gambled, made his stand, and he surprised Craig Davis. Craig, the only senior on this North Carolina State team. He knows better than that. He should have passed up the floor, not tried to beat him with the dribbling exhibition.
Tyrone Brannion gets the ball outside. We have a whistle down low, and apparently it's going to go against Texas. Offensive foul. That one goes against John Moore. He now has 2. He also has 9 points. Krivax has 8. Baxter has 9. Leading point producer for North Carolina State is Pinder with 6.
One of the reasons that Texas is able to run with their set defense is that the attack that North Carolina State is using many times gets 4 offensive players down inside that free throw line, and that leaves only that point guard back, and Texas is master at getting that ball out and deep.
Abe Lemons up shouting out instructions to his center, Gary Goodner, who shouted something back. Now here is John Moore feeding off to Baxter, and Texas will set it up. Brannion, they're ready to fire at any time. They go right from the hip.
Absolutely. It's a misconception that they're a patient team. They're a confident team.
They are confident shooters. They take some real, seemingly low percentage shots, but seem to get them down. They lead right now 26-19, have led by as many as 11. This time, we have a foul call inside.
North Carolina State was down in the semifinals by 7 to a fine Georgetown team, and the same kind of sustained pressure just kept them in the game, and eventually in the second half they prevailed. Forcing that ball down inside, that time they actually beat the Texas defense back, and that is a great thing to do against the zone or the matchup. That kind of defense really needs time to get back, get settled, and point their men out.
Texas is now over the limit on team foul, so the bonus is in effect, but they can't get the front end, so it'll be Davis getting set to bring the ball inbounds, and Tony Warren, a 6'6 guard, gets it back out to Craig Davis, smallest player on the court at 5'8". Here's Warren. Hawkeye Whitney, that's his number, going up off that offensive board once and then twice, and then down it comes. A third try still is not good, but we're going to have a shooting foul for the Wolfpack.
For the first time, North Carolina State has shown their offensive rebounding ability. It's also good to see Tony Warren back out. He took a bad fall against Georgetown Sunday night, injured his lower back, but he looks fine.
Coming up this Sunday on many of these Ms. Lou television stations, the East-West Coaches All-Star Basketball Game. Check your local listings for time and station. Butch Lee, Marquette, Gulf Ford, North Carolina, Ray Townsend, UCLA, just to mention a few.
That'll be 1 o'clock New York time this Sunday from St. Louis.
Right now we have Pinder, Kendall Tiny Pinder from Miami, Florida, knocking down those free throws, and all of a sudden we've got a basketball game as Texas, once with an 11-point lead, sees it cut to 5, 26-21 with 7:40 left to play in the first half.
But more than that, North Carolina State has played 10 men. Texas is going with an iron 5.
Very good point, because it has been a pressure, intense game, lots of running. And Texas is probably going to take the pace way down unless they get that overmatch with the free man down court for the full court pass.
Trying to make the turn. John Krivax, a pretty good dribbler. Just didn't quite get around. The irony of the foul situation is that North Carolina State has been pressing all night, and here in the matchup, Texas is the first to reach the bonus.
North Carolina State saying with a man-to-man defense. Krivax has the ball hacked away from him by Craig Davis, but he can't make a play on it. And so it comes back inbounds to the Longhorns.
What a great effort by Craig Davis. Only 5'8". He looks so small out there with those big guys that if he used the whirlpool, he'd probably need a lifeguard. But he's all heart. And as we pointed out earlier, the only senior.
Krivax has the ball after a steal attempt by Pinder. He'd have had a breakaway had he been able to get a hand on the ball. Krivax looks behind big Ron Baxter, kicks it over to John Moore, and down low they go to Tyrone Branyan, who shoots just over the outstretched hands of Pinder and Whitney. And Tyrone Branyan gets his first points of the game and gives the Longhorns again a 7-point advantage, 28-21. Now Davis with a little bit of a mental error as he was looking down low, but forgot to watch his feet. He traveled with the ball.
Again, coming up Sunday, the basketball coaches East-West All-Star game from Kiel Auditorium in St. Louis, right here on the Ms. Television Network.
Krivax working in backcourt. Craig Davis playing him very loosely. Krivax will drive to the baseline and pump it up. He'll pump it up from right there. Get it down from right there.
That's a mismatch, Don. Craig Davis is a fine defensive player, but he's only 5'8", and with Krivax's range, he can go up at 28 right over Craig. Clyde Austin will probably be coming back in soon.
Whitney trying to follow it up, but he draws a foul on Texas as the call on the play is inside. And we have a pushing foul signal. Branyan gets his second personal foul.
We'll have a chance to see that again. Over the shoulder, Texas trying to compensate for the fact that they're not as big, and I think maybe just a little tired, flailing around in there trying to keep that ball alive on the defensive board. They're not getting it out as quick, and I think the state personnel have begun to wear them down just a bit.
But Texas still has the lead. It's up to 9 again, 30-21, with 6.5 minutes to play in the first half. John Moore with excellent ball control, switching hands, looking to break that tight defense. Now Krivax to Branyan. They're ready to fire at all times. Their percentages in the Sunday night win over Rutgers, 57%, running at 96 points. They're up around there in this game.
And Branyan, too, had 24 in that game for his season high. His last big game was against Houston, so he's a big game player.
32-21, and again, Texas has quietly, after seeing its lead cut to 5, upped it again to the biggest margin it's been in the game once before, 11 points. Branyan is rejected by Art Jones.
A super reject. He not only rejected it, but he got it to go off Texas, and it's North Carolina State's ball. Abe Lemons made a wise move with that recent timeout. He got the tempo back under control, gave his kids a breather. They look much better.
Abe can say something funny every time he opens his mouth. He says he now believes he's part Indian like his grandfather told him, because every time he starts to dance, it starts to rain. But it's been raining for North Carolina State in this one. Here is a play again, the 5th time, and John Moore from Altoona, Pennsylvania takes it the distance for the Longhorns, and they lead 34-23. Bucky?
If anything's going to bring rain, it's those long, high passes that are finding their target for layups. They're just destroying the state press. I think what State's going to have to do is take a man off the ball and put him back under their defensive basket. I think they can live with some jump shots in transition, but not give layups.
Matthews rims the hoop, and down with the rebound is the big center, Goodner, from Denton, Texas. And now the Longhorns say, let's quarterback this team and play a control offense as the first half starts to wind down. 5:05 to play in it. Krivax letting it fly, and the big guy underneath, Sudhop, takes down the rebound. He is harassed, throws an errant pass, and it results in a North Carolina State turnover.
Clyde Austin looking up the floor in his haste to find the open man, just lost the handle on it. And as you might expect, Texas, very alert, had it cut off. Norm Sloan upset with that one. He's a driving coach, as we pointed out early. Abe Lemons, a leisure suit, takes it easy. His kids have fun. Norm has pushed this team and driven them, and they've responded to it.
Boy, there's the basketball play. What a beautiful play as John Moore takes the lead pass and darts down the baseline of the court to lay it in and draw foul. Let's watch it.
Inbounds pass.
Oh, they're tough.
Caught him sleeping. John Moore, good move inside. He had 9 rebounds against Rutgers the other night at 6'1". He's awfully strong. Perhaps the best athlete on the Texas team.
Texas can really play. They play a great team game. That was an inbounds play, and they just with a lead pass and a quick turn beat the North Carolina State defense to extend the lead to 36-23. 4:40 to go in the first half. Austin gets it down to Art Jones, a big guy. Cannot make it work, and Ron Baxter rips down the defensive board for the Longhorns, and now Texas again goes to John Moore, who will set it up and watch that clock wind down, looking for the percentage shot, although Texas idea percentage shots can be 35 feet out. Here's the guy that can do it, Prevax, although he loses the ball here to the glider. Clyde Austin, lead pass to Art Jones, back to Austin, up he goes against Goodner. And there's a foul on Gary Goodner on the play, and sophomore Clyde Austin will shoot twice. But before he does, we're going to have a pause in the action with Texas in the lead 36-23. Let's pause briefly for these messages. This is the 1978 NIT Basketball Championship.
I joined the move to Michelin.
I joined the move to Michelin.
I joined the move to Michelin.
You should too. Michelin's the one that introduced the radio, and Michelin makes only radios. Michelin's the one that's made radios longer than anybody else in the world. Michelin's the one to insist on.
Join the move to Michelin.
For real tire satisfaction, think Michelin first. We're second to none.
Company! Dispatch! Well, the training's rough, you know, the sergeant's tough. Now it's all behind, got blue ribbon on my mind. I've got Pabst blue ribbon on my mind. More and more lately I find I've got a taste for living. I'm thinking cold blue ribbon. I've got Pabst blue ribbon on my mind.
Naturally good Pabst. A lot to look forward to.
We are back at Madison Square Garden in New York. We have 4 minutes and 16 seconds to play in the first half of this 41st NIT Championship game. Texas opened up quickly with full court passes. They were beating the North Carolina State defense for breakaway layups. Their lead was up to 11. Then it was cut to 5, and now it is 12 points as Clyde Austin is at the free throw line for North Carolina State.
He took a pretty good whack. Gary Goodner, the only starter for Texas that's from Texas, really gave him one of the hook 'em horns. He rang old Clyde's bell, but he hit the free throw.
Gave him the full hook.
Yep.
Branyan now against the North Carolina State press. Gets it up court to Ron Baxter. Fred Akers might run him at fullback.
Darryl Royals here. He's probably licking his chops.
Lead pass goes down low, and up with the ball is Ron Baxter. He's so smooth. He's a power guy getting up in the air and busting open a defense, and then he's got that beautiful touch.
All he did the other night was go 8 for 9, 6 assists, and 2 steals.
That'll
pretty
keep you
good
in the
for a
lineup.
chubby guy,
Yeah,
huh?
keep you in the lineup. Here we go. Goodner takes it down, goes to Baxter. It's a 38-25 game. Texas with a 13-point advantage. That's the biggest they've had in this game. Prevax will put it up from the hotel, as Abe Lemon says.
Beautiful. A beautiful shooter. And he can put it on the floor. You can't get too close.
Prevax now has scored 12 for the Longhorns. Here is Pinder with a nice shot off the baseline of the floor for North Carolina State. It's 40-27. Texas maintains its big advantage. They got two guys bumping out here, and official Ed Gattata calls one of them for it. He's going to call Texas Gary Goodner for it.
The State is nuzzling up. Texas trying to get that step to get free. A little, some bad vibes out there, Donald. But they're getting down. State is really coming down and getting in their shirt. And Texas, although they handle the ball very well on the press, they are not a physical team. Abe Lemon said if they let them play, we're in big trouble. And State loves the physical game.
Abe once had a guy at Pan American that scored 1 point in the game and was mouthing off in the locker room afterwards, and he went over to him and said, "Son, all you did tonight scoring 1 point was score one more than the dead man could. That's all you did for us." He was at Pan American, or Oklahoma City rather, excuse me, for 18 years, and then at Pan American for 3 years. Now he's in his second year at Texas in their big new arena. They average 14,000 people a game. Used to be down there, as you were saying, Bucky, they didn't know whether you blew up a basketball or stuffed it, but the Southwest Conference, always great for football, is becoming a great basketball conference.
For sure. Arkansas in the Final Four of the NCAA. Texas here playing for the NIT championship. And, of course, Houston made the NCAA, lost to Notre Dame in the first round. And we had a great game last year, Don, with Houston of the Southwest playing against St. Bonaventure. Otis Birdsong. It was a 94-91 game, and the Bonnies won it on the strength of Greg Sanders' 40-point performance. They are playing basketball in the Southwest, believe it.
Krivax, who comes into the game averaging 21.5. He's probably going to come out of this as the leading scorer in this NIT and an almost sure bet to make the all-tournament team. Krivax puts on another one. He now has scored 14 points to lead all scorers. And here comes Donnie Perkins back in the game for North Carolina State. And Hawkeye Whitney, number 43, is back in, the big power forward from that famous basketball high school outside Washington, DeMatha.
Following that point, the Southwest Conference has 2. The Atlantic Coast Conference has 2. There are only 6 teams still playing in the Final Four of the NCAA.
Excuse me, Bucket. They got Whitney from behind, tipped it away. Baxter did. Now he goes to Krivax off the glass. He can't get it to go. We're going to be a foul call. It looks like Krivax is charging. They got him. Holding his position nicely was Perkins of North Carolina State. So Krivax caused the foul.
Coming up next Sunday on the Ms. Lou Television Network's telecast of the East-West Coaches All-Star Game, we'll have the All-America Black and Decker squad. And that is a tremendous unit, Bucky. We won't reveal who they are, but if the folks tune in at halftime of the East-West game next Sunday, they'll find out who the 5 are.
Can hardly wait, Howard.
Going to the free throw line now is Tony Warren, backcourt for North Carolina State. As North Carolina State is down at this point 42-29 in this championship game of the NIT, coming to you live from Madison Square Garden in New York. A lot of scouts here from colleges all over the country. Pro scouts, everybody in here to look at this one. It's been a tremendous success with the regionalized concept. It'll draw somewhere in the neighborhood of 162 or 3,000 for the tournament when you consider all the games played everywhere.
Unquestionably, the most successful NIT ever. The new format has been well received.
Krivax coming off the baseline, shoots right in the face. In your face for Krivax, and he draws a foul on the play. Krivax now with 16 points in the game and going to the free throw line. Clyde Austin drew the foul, was charged with a foul.
Jim Krivax is the only one of the top 50 scorers in the country that is still playing. You know, we talk about the team concept in basketball. In the NCAA and NIT, only 6 of the top 50 scorers eventually made those 2 tournaments. He is the only one left, and that speaks well, I think, for team basketball.
That's very interesting. A lot of times guys can do everything with the ball but play with 4 other guys. Here's the tip out going to John Moore, who takes it up court for Texas. They are in the lead by 14, 45-31, with 2:25 left to play in the first half. Back outside to Krivax. Krivax very confident with the basketball, fires it off on the flank to John Moore, can't get that jump shot to go, and here comes Carolina State with a 2-on-1 break. Lead goes to Warren. And Tony Warren with the assist from Craig Davis gets the bucket for the Wolfpack.
A picture break. The little guy, Craig Davis, in the middle. Probably should have slowed up at the free throw line. I believe Texas could have drawn the charge, but he gave the good head fake, a Class A move, and a good bounce pass.
Krivax throws the ball now over to Tony Warren, out to Krivax again, and the long shot is rebounded nicely off the offensive board by Branyan. Getting real rough inside, and Texas is on the long end. They're getting it.
Ron Baxter again on that offensive board. It's very physical. The thing Abe Lemons feared most was letting him play. Watch this action, sticking it right back up the nostrils, and on top of that, he goes to the line. He's hurting people in there. If he's 205, I don't believe it.
Well, he admits to 225, but Abe Lemons says, well, might be somewhere between 225 and 250. He was 225, but he is a player. Ron Baxter doing the big job for Texas so far in the game, has scored 14. And now, nicely done inside. Warren getting the bucket to make it a 48-35 game. Again, the lead goes down court. Texas does it again all night long.
Texas, the master of the counterattack. You blink your eyes, you turn your head, they nail you. They pass the ball extremely well, and they're so offensive-minded and so confident. They just attack you. They're always looking to score from 84 feet right down to the boxes.
That was Branyan on the payoff end of the long lead pass. Watts has the ball hacked away from him. The ball will come back inbounds to North Carolina State. They're in white, Texas in the burnt orange.
Right now, Norm Sloan has to hope that the constant shuffling of personnel and the continued pressure will wear Texas down. But right now, they haven't even broken a sweat.
Hard work inside, gets the bucket for North Carolina State. And now we have Krivax taking it back up court. Whitney with 6 points after that last field goal. We're inside a minute to go in the first half. 45 to play, 50-37 Texas, and the Longhorns with the ball. Goodner, who's been very quiet on offense, those are his first two.
Yeah, he's the only boy from Texas. About time he did something. At least that's what Abe's yelling at him.
Gary Goodner, that puts the lead up to 15 again. And again, Prevax takes the ball. Moore's ahead of everybody. And Texas, with masterful team basketball, has opened up a 54-37 lead.
What we're seeing is a second clinic. This is just a replay of what they did against Rutgers on Sunday night.
That was Tony Warren firing from the outside. Here is a shot as the game almost winds down in the first half and finally does. Texas 54, North Carolina 39. That's the end of the first half of the 1978 NIT basketball finals with Texas in the lead.